Talk. My name is Matt Miller, and joining me today is Justin McGovern. What's going on, dude?
What is up? I am ready for us to continue our series here. Actually, we're wrapping it up. Tonight, we're going to be firing up the hype train for our teams in the MAC, the Mountain West, and Conference USA. Buckle up and tune in because these are our three favorite conferences to talk about. So we are very excited for tonight's show.
Yeah, and if this is your first time joining us, we here at Updog Sports Talk like to uh, stick up for the little guy. Hence, today we're talking about the MAC, the Mountain West, and Conference USA, as Justin said. Um, One thing that we pride ourselves on is making sure that each of these conferences do get the notoriety that they deserve. And with that, sit back, relax, and welcome to Updog Sports Talk. Um, so, Justin, let's get started with our favorite conference right now, and probably for the rest of time, the Mid American Conference. Why do we like the Mid American Conference so damn much?
Well, it's MACtion, of course. Who
It's
doesn't love it?
MACtion, baby.
But also, as Bowling Green alums, this has special meaning for us.
Yep.
And as we've already fired up the hype train on Bowling Green football and Eddie George this year. So we both agreed that we would not pick Bowling Green as our team. So that being said, Matt, who did you pick?
I, Justin, picked Eastern Michigan.
Ooh,
One thing that I found interesting about Eastern Michigan is, like, obviously Toledo. Well, I guess it's not obvious to everybody, but upon our research, Toledo's the favorite in the conference, and they have had the best recruiting class. They did well in the portal. They have a decent amount of production returning. Um, Eastern Michigan is a team that I want to see do well, not just because they haven't had like a ton of success, but they have a very underrated coach. Um, they dealt with a lot of injuries last year, that kind of prohibited them from being able to take the next step. They made Max Crosby the assistant GM, so they're going to make sure that he's going to make sure that Eastern Michigan is going to continue to get in decent recruits, and see if this program can take the next step. One thing that I wanted to point out was that they had a 51% um, return returning production on the defense. Um, Now, to a lot of people, that's not huge, but um, they have a few guys really familiar with this system, and I think this defense can kind of carry this team through, just because they have a lot of experience. Um, and I think that um, like the best part about Eastern Michigan is their schedule is fairly easy, if you take a look at it. So going forward, I have my eyes on the gray turf up in Michigan.
yeah, that's a good pick. Chris Creighton is definitely the most underrated coach in college football. People forget that before he got there, Eastern Michigan struggled a lot. They were one of the
Yes.
worst programs in the MAC, and winning 3 games was an accomplishment each year. Now he's gotten to the program to such a steady point that a 5-win season last year felt like a disappointment. I'm ready for to see him break through, and getting Max Crosby involved only helps. It's really cool to see top NFL players take pride in the place that they went to school, and getting invested in helping their program improve. This is definitely huge news for Eastern Michigan, and 2025 could be a big year for them.
Yeah,
But
they
I
do have
will
a
be
tough
seeing,
non-conference schedule.
yeah.
They have Texas State, and they have Kentucky, and they have Louisville. Or I'm not Louisville, Louisiana. I do that every time. Um, but like they, um, I think MAC is kind of a coin flip when you get in conference. You
Oh
don't
yeah.
necessarily know what you're gonna get year in and year out. So they got bad luck of the draw for the non-conference, but I do think that this year they can handle the in-conference.
However, they do get Louisiana at home on the gray turf, don't they?
Yes, they do. So they don't have to
I
travel down to the bayou.
I really enjoy that, sending Louisiana all the way up there, up to Michigan to play in the gray turf.
Yeah,
But I will be seeing Eastern Michigan in action this year.
nice. Where are you gonna be doing that, Justin?
This will be at Buffalo, which is
Nice.
the team that I have as my team. So the Buffalo Bulls, year one under Pete Lembo last year, went 9-4. They improved a lot immediately because before that they were struggling to make bowl games ever since Lance Leipold left. Pete Lembo is entering year two now, and he's only going to make this program better. They have a star running back in Al J. Henderson. He's a dog. He's a dog. I cannot wait to see what he does. And they have to figure out the quarterback position. Taquan Roberson is kind of that fun mobile option. I know running the ball is going to be a huge priority for the Bulls. So Taquan Roberson sounds like the favorite, but they have others in the competition as well. So it's not set in stone. But whoever wins the job gets an all MAC wide receiver in Victor Snow. He plays in the slot. Very reliable target to throw to. It'll make the quarterback's job much easier. And another thing that'll help, if Nick McMillan comes back healthy, he missed all of last year, that adds another weapon for them. So I'm looking forward to that. The offensive line for the Bulls is one of the best offensive lines in the entire MAC. Now, as Bowling Green alums, we may argue that Greens might be better, but Buffalo is definitely up there as one of the best offensive lines. And that's not even the best part of the team yet. We haven't even gotten to the best. That is the defense. This defense had some issues against the run last year. They did have some problems with that, but when they stopped the run, Buffalo went 9-0 last year. And they returned a dog at linebacker in Red Murdoch. He had 156 tackles last year. And that is with Sean Dulac back there wreaking havoc as well. So Murdoch is taking over the linebacker room. They're going to have some other guys ready to go to take over next to him, especially pass rusher Deion Crawford. And then also on the defensive line, one of my favorite phrases in this new portal age is that sometimes the biggest recruiting wins are the ones you keep. That is the case for the Bulls in defensive lineman Kobe Stewart. He had 9.5 sacks last year, entered the portal, and then Buffalo managed to convince him to stay. So that was a huge one. The secondary gave up a few more big plays than you'd like to see, but lots of experience back. You know, that group having another year working together is going to really help them reduce that amount of big plays that they were giving up. That will definitely help them settle in. And then finally, that last piece, you know, the run game, 9-0 when they stopped it, and 1-4 or 0-4, I think, when they didn't. They have a 300-pound, bigger, meatier man
Bigger meteor
in
man.
George Wolo. He missed all of last year of an injury, so getting him back and healthy will help a lot in this department.
70,
Finally,
73% returning production for the defense.
yes, exactly. And then finally, special teams. We have to talk about them as well because Pete Lembo is their head coach. And with that being said, until proven otherwise, a Pete Lembo coach team is always going to have awesome special teams. And that's a difference maker in a league that's very tightly contested. So that wraps up our MACtion teams. Get ready because I'm excited for October 3rd when Buffalo takes on Eastern Michigan, two of our teams here. But it'll be a fun year in the MAC overall. It's time to pivot, though. We're going due west, Matt.
Yeah, we're going all the way out west. I guess not all the way, But we're going to the Mountain West. And guess what, Justin?
Yeah.
What better
What?
way to go out west than go up high into the mountains and see Air Force? They're my hype team for the Mountain West. Air Force was a complete disappointment last year, and not to brag, I called that. So, one of the few people in the nation that actually did call that. This year, I think they just kind of get back to what they do best. And what do they do best, Justin?
Well, that is running the ball.
They're going to get back to running the football. Um, the the biggest thing in their favor and the weakest point of their team last year was the offense, which we thought was going to fly high, or Justin thought, and a lot of other people thought was going to fly high. Um, did not happen. This year, they have a 68% returning production on the offense. I think that's going to bode well for them. I think they're going to get back to the run and then kind of get the pass game going out of play action. And I think that's going to go bode well for them. They do have a little bit of a tough slate. Obviously, they're going to play Boise State. But they also have Navy and Army. And UNLV.
Which they're going to play every year as well.
Yeah. But those four programs are hot right now. And a couple of them may take a little bit of a step back, but I don't think they're going to go to the depths of college football. But you can look for a solid 8 or 9 win season out of Air Force this year after a completely disappointing 5-7 season.
Yeah, and I think you can focus kind of because their offense. The one thing you point to was how their offense had a lot of change last year, and that led to the disappointing season. They settled in late in the year and really got on a hot streak in November. That tells you they got the pieces in the right place, and now those pieces are back. I really like your pick of Air Force. I think they're in for a good year. And you mentioned Boise State. That game is at home, a place where Boise State has traditionally struggled. So watch out for an upset alert there when the Broncos take on the Fighting Falcons at Air Force. So that one will be an interesting one to monitor. But I am going to a different spot in the Mountain West. I am going with a new head coach to bring a team back towards the top of the conference. That is going to be Fresno State. They made a fantastic hire this offseason by hiring former North Dakota State head coach Matt Entz. Now, he took a year away from North Dakota State. He left and became USC's linebackers coach. Almost like as if this move was planned from the beginning. Because he got to go to USC, got to build in those California connections to help him recruit. And now here he is with Fresno State ready to make this program back towards the top of the Mountain West after a brief dip last year. I thought, Fresno State kind of found themselves in a weird spot. Jeff Tedford retiring before the season, interim head coach. I don't think everything quite took as well as it should have for them. There's mistakes. They lost a lot of close games, lost leads late in the fourth quarter. A lot of stuff that's just very fixable. Now, another thing that's going to help them fix it, they have two options at quarterback. They have Kurt Warner's son, E.J. Warner, there. I thought he was going to do big things for Rice last year after he filled up the stat sheet at Temple. Unfortunately, Rice as a whole kind of disappointed last year. But now he's going to have a lot more to work with here at Fresno State. But, if he proves to be too turnover prone, they have another option in former Sacramento State quarterback Carson Conklin. So there's two options there. Their new offensive coordinator, Josh Davis, will definitely help them focus on the run game. Fresno State was outrageously bad at running the ball last year, which is kind of sad to say for a program that's known for having good running backs. So I'm excited to see them get back to that. Then we go to the defensive side. They have a really good defensive line. I know Corey Foreman, he was a former 5-star plus recruit and never really panned out. But, he's actually found himself a pretty solid footing here. He's not that ridiculous playmaker everyone thought he would be, but he's a very solid player for this defense. And then Drake transfer Finn Claypool could be a guy who becomes a havoc wreaker. Did I say that right? Havoc wreaker? I don't know what I was doing there, but
He wreaks havoc.
anyways, he could wreak havoc on opposing offensive fronts. And Fresno State secondary. Fresno State secondary will be one of the best, if not the best, in the Mountain West. Corner Alzillion Hamilton is the name I want you to watch out for. He is going to be a star player, probably the best corner in the Mountain West this year. Watch for Fresno State to enter themselves in the Mountain West race. Maybe even bowl a surprise and win it. We'll see.
The only knock I have on them is they're living or dying by the portal. Their return rate is total is 40%, 36 on offense, 44 on defense. That's among the depths of college football. But guess what, Justin? Moving on to Conference USA, do you know who has some of the most returning production?
Ooh, who?
I'm going to surprise you here. I'm not going with the one on the hat. I did that just to fool everyone because they're in the same Missouri State, their first year in college football. FBS level. They are returning 66% of their total starters from last year. 76% on offense. They went 8-4 last year. Now, they do have to face off against USC in week 1. That's just a bad draw. The other one that I would look at to them kind of struggling with is probably SMU. But outside of that, maybe Liberty. Maybe. So you're looking at 2 or 3 losses, and 2 of them are out of conference to Power 4 teams. I think that's pretty darn good. I mean, I was between a couple of teams in here, and I felt the need to go with the first year team because they've been gearing up for this for a while. They're ready to go. And I think they can do it. Justin, don't you? I feel like they like they got the goods to keep this thing going.
Yeah, I was wondering if we would go this way because I think our show is a lot higher on Missouri State entering FBS than anyone else. A lot of people are ready for Delaware, but we went a different route here. They have the one thing that's going to help is they have a great quarterback. Jacob Clark could potentially be the best quarterback in Conference USA. Yeah. I watched him play last year when in Missoula when they faced Montana in the season opener, and I came away very impressed with Jacob Clark's abilities. He faced an environment that's going to be tougher than any of the ones he'll face in Conference USA. And he was not rattled by it at all. He was throwing darts all over the field against a tough Montana defense in a tough environment. And I was impressed with his abilities. But to his credit as well, like the receivers and tight ends, they were really good as well. This is a good offense. Yes, they still have some pieces to kind of sort out a little bit, but I really like what they have on the offense for sure.
Yeah, dude, I think we're gonna start hearing a bunch of names from Missouri State, and unfortunately, I think after this season, the portal's gonna hit them hard. With that, but I mean, yeah, I think they can. I think they can turn some heads, raise some eyebrows, whatever analogy you want to use. Who's your team in the Conference USA?
Yeah, so I'm not going with UTEP, unfortunately. I do like UTEP this year. I think they'll be much improved. But I wanted to turn to a team that I thought that's going to win the conference. And that is, I'm going with Big Red and the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers.
Whoa.
They ended last season on a bit of a cold streak. Kind of fell apart in the last month. And Tyson Helton, when he starts to see that going, one thing he's really done well there is like once he starts to see things going in a bad direction, he's not afraid to quickly change things up and go a new direction. And that's what he did with this offense. They brought in Abilene Christian's offensive coordinator, and what I like, also brought in the quarterback with him, in Maverick McIver. That is the name I want you to remember. I first learned of him when using a downloaded 2019 roster in NCAA 14 back in the day. And I went up against Maverick McIver in the Texas Tech Red Raiders. I forget who I was, but all I know is he torched my team. Probably. Yeah, I think it was UTEP. But anyways, he torched my team. And then I was like, for a part of the dynasty, I didn't think he was real. And then I looked him up and found out he was. And he's real for sure. He was a excellent passer at Abilene Christian. And now he comes here with his offensive coordinator to do the same thing. You remember years back when Bailey Zappi came to Western Kentucky from Houston Christian with his offensive coordinator. And they lit up the stat sheet setting NCAA records. I think this move will be very, very similar to that. So without the offense sputtering, that helps the defense kind of take the pressure off a little bit. They were pretty good against the pass. They stopped the pass pretty well, but the one thing they really needed to work on this offseason, and when you have one problem on defense, I feel more confident that you can hit the portal and fix that problem. Western Kentucky hit the portal pretty hard to fix the run defense because that was one area where they badly struggled last year. And we saw it especially late when in the Conference USA Championship when Jacksonville State just relentlessly ran over them. Then again, in the bowl game, James Madison did the exact same thing. Finally, another point here that I like to make that really helps the Hilltoppers out, they face one of the easiest schedules in the country. They avoid Liberty in Conference USA play. They do have some non-conference tests at Toledo and at LSU. But, I mean, avoiding Liberty in Conference USA play is huge. That's going to put them in a huge leg up in the standings because everyone at the top kind of is going through some sort of big change this year. Everyone is. But Justin, avoiding Liberty, the steadiest power, is a huge advantage to making the Conference USA Championship.
But, Justin, they do go to Missouri State.
Ooh. Yeah, we'll see how that one goes. Yeah. That'll be a lot of fun. I like Western Kentucky a lot. They are going to win Conference USA.
My one drawback on Western Kentucky is they have a 34% total return rate among production. That's 125th in the country. 36% on offense, 33% on defense. So yeah, they may have fixed some holes, but they got no chemistry. So I personally, other than their cupcake games, think that they're gonna probably come out a little slow, probably end strong.
We shall see.
So that is our hype train for MAC, Mountain West, and Conference USA. Little other sports notes here. The NBA playoffs are ramping up. The Pacers and Knicks series is looking to be pretty darn good there, Justin. Indy leads 3-1. OKC leads Minnesota 3-1. So we might have an Oklahoma City versus Indiana NBA Finals. Can you believe that?
That's actually kind of funny.
Yeah. So I don't like saying this out loud, but I don't think the Pacers are going to win that. Oklahoma City is such a good team. Both, other than the Siakam trade, both of them kind of built internally. The Pacers traded for Pascal Siakam a few seasons ago and have been put into contention. The Thunder have MVP Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and number one seeds when they face a lower seed are like, I forget the exact statistic, but like they only have like 2 or 3 losses. But guess who there are 2?
Hang on, Matt. I need to back you up for a moment.
The
I
Indiana
had to make
Pacers.
sure.
I was
I had to
finishing
make
my
sure-
thought.
Okay.
I'm still talking about basketball.
I know. I was too.
What
Because-
do you have to add to that?
I had to look it up to make sure I was correct. But guess where Pascal Siakam went to college?
Where? UNLV?
Okay, I'll give you a hint. It definitely is involving a team that in the conferences that we talked about tonight. That's why I brought it up, because it does relate to the show in some sort of way.
Eastern Michigan.
No. We love this team, but we did not talk about them.
Bowling Green.
No. We did talk about Bowling Green.
I'm gonna go with New Mexico State.
Yeah! That's who it was. New Mexico State.
Yeah. But it's pretty cool to see like the Celtics aren't in it. They got eliminated the previous round. The Nuggets, who won it last year, a couple years ago, maybe last year. All these years run together. They got out the previous round. They're like LeBron got out in the first round. The Warriors got out last round. So we're not seeing the same. The Pacers beat the Bucks, so no Giannis. So we are seeing a completely different NBA Finals, and I'm all for it. Although usually the Pacers games come on days that I literally can't watch basketball, so that sucks. What else, Justin?
Well, that was exciting, and also I'm very glad that we managed to get down that tangent, because, Conference USA fans, they thought they were safe from us mentioning New Mexico State, but I found a way.
In a few weeks, we will have a guest on the show, potentially talking MLS. So one of our first ever MLS shows. Sucks you can't make it, but obviously you got a prior commitment. So, looking forward to that.
Yep, it will be my anniversary, so we had to call in a sub.
Yeah, I don't expect you to join on your anniversary. So that'll be cool for you. NFL will get ramped up later this summer, so excited for that. But we're not going to do those live, just so everyone knows. We're just going to record and edit and post. So then that way it just goes out on a Wednesday night. And then we just have 40 straight days of videos talking about your favorite teams and your favorite conferences.
Yeah, let's go.
So that'll be super exciting. I can't wait for that. Always a good time for that. Baseball conversation is going to get a little sporadic, but follow us at Updog Sports Talk on X, on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, on Threads. We are on LinkedIn, but I forgot the password, so I don't.
don't follow us on LinkedIn then.
Yeah.
Although maybe we'll show up as like a suggested thing, because every once in a while, like, I'll get an email to my personal LinkedIn that's like, hey, follow Snoop Dogg on LinkedIn. I'm like, man, LinkedIn, what are you going through right now? Like, do you need help?
Yeah.
But anyways.
We are you can listen to us on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, iHeartRadio. I feel like there's one more.
We may have forgotten it. Oh, well. Wherever your podcasts are, we are.
Pretty much every corner of the internet that is popular, we are there. So find us everywhere. Obviously, we go live on YouTube at 8 o'clock on Wednesdays. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, comment. We love hearing from everybody. We love interacting with everyone. But we also want to build our channel, and we can't do that without subscribers. So show us some love. We'll continue to pump out good content for you. Next week we go over what conferences, Justin? Do we have left?
We don't have any left. We actually do not know
What?
what our episode is last week. Next week,
That
surprise
was the-
episode coming.
That was the final episode of the series.
Yep.
We did a hype train for every conference.
Yes.
Wow.
Well done.
I would have done a recap, but I don't remember what I picked in the other one. So, yeah. So, in order to stop this drawing out of this episode,
Well, I have some closing thoughts here. Also,
God,
go to updogsportstalk.com. We have a blog there. We have not used it in a few months, but get ready because the State of the Program series is coming back. A look into where each program is right now and, you know, a little bit of fun history around them. Who are some key players back? How's their schedule look? All that kind of fun stuff is going to be coming up soon in June, I will say.
yeah,
It's
Justin
coming in
does a
June,
really
so
good
be
job
sure to
with that.
subscribe to that. So
Yes, Justin does a good job with that. I built the website while I was going through chemo, so it's kind of broken right now. But you can still find Justin's blog on there pretty easily. So go find him. I'll have to fix mine and fix the main page, but that will be a later date. Got some things going on. But yeah, that's it. We'll catch you guys next time.